Hey, everybody out there in LinkedIn land or on YouTube or Facebook. Welcome to our Tuesday morning LinkedIn Live. I am Alison Henderson. My company is Moving Image Consulting, and my special guest today is Kristin Lamar of Kristin Lamar Inspires. And I can't tell you how excited I am to share Kristin with you. Sometimes I feel like she's my own special little inspiring friend, colleague that I feel so privileged to talk to quite often. And I think, Kristin, you and I met, what was it, like almost 18 months ago? Has it been longer than that?
It's probably been longer than that.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. This was one of those referrals from someone that Kristin and I both knew separately, and she said, you two should meet. And boy, was Julie right. I owe her a lot. So, since we met, Kristin has advised me, and I am in some of her programs. She's got fantastic group programs and things, and I just thought she needs to come on and share some of her wisdom with the world. And I'm so grateful that she decided to join us for our topic today, which is finding some clarity.
Yeah.
And this is following up on last week, which we talked about possibility mindset and kind of staying open to more than one pathway. And so, Kristin, obviously you can go ahead and introduce yourself but I also thought maybe we should start kind of to tie the two last week and this week together. If you wanted to just address really quick the what if.
That's so funny because I was going to say that. I was like, wait a minute, I have to say that. That's so funny. The channeling, yay.
Yeah, well, guess which meditation I did this morning? Because let me tell you, if you join her group program, you receive copies of the calls. And the one that I did today happened to be the meditation that was on our what if day, which made me think, oh, we have to start with what if. Yeah. So Kristin, welcome. I'll let you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about the what if, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. This is fun. It's early, but it's fun. And I'm sorry I'm showing up with Band-Aids on my face.
Oh, I didn't mention that. You're right. You're like
the So anyway, everybody go see your derm. Make sure everybody's healthy. Those are the things we always need to do, definitely in the beginning of the year. But you did such a great introduction. Thank you. I'm so touched. We have become fast friends and clients and collaborators on projects, and that's really been a true honor as well. But like Alison said, I'm Kristin of Kristin Lamar Inspires, and I do just that. I have a high sense of intuitive abilities. So I actually call myself a intuitive success advisor, just to keep it short, which kind of helps me have a greater sense of awareness so that we can have a greater connection to the consciousness while we work together. And that's really, I think, in a nutshell, the best way to explain it. So it serves people in different ways because we're working with you in particular, but there's always a collective that comes in that's good universal information, which is kind of what this call is about, or this live today is, and if we bring in the possibility, I'm so glad you said that because that was in my head. That was like, yes, we have to talk about that. So when we talk about possibility, we want to really think about how what if is the language of possibility. So I'll just let that land for a second because most people don't ever hear it said that way. Usually, what if is all about doubt. It's all about fear. It's all about what if this doesn't go well? What if LinkedIn Live doesn't go well? What if I'm late? What if I can't make it? What if my car breaks down? What if I can't pay my bills? So we have programmed ourselves that what if is about fear and worry and doubt, when the reality is what if is the language truly of possibility. So if we were to reframe that in possibility, what if would look like, what if today's the day I get invited to a seat at the big table? What if today's the day I land a great contract? What if today's the day that all the efforts that I've put out there have started to pay off. So when we wake up with our day in this what if game, as I say, because life is a game and we want to learn how to play it in this positive way, in a way that we can engage and overcome obstacles as quickly and easy as possible. And so what if game of the language of possibility allows us to do that right out of the gate. So that's my explanation for that.
Well, I will tell you, it certainly makes those phone calls easier for me, because that's one of my hangups as a business owner. And I'm sure it is for a lot of people out there, that you feel like, oh, I don't want to bother people. Oh, this will be the third time I've called them, or blah, blah, all those negative or gremlins come into our brain. And if you think, what if I'm the person they need to talk to today? Or what if I have the answer to the question? What if they were thinking of me when I'm picking up the phone? Like, it just helps to pick up, as I call that 500-pound phone, and make that call, or make that reach out to someone on LinkedIn or some other form, because there's a lot of times when we doubt ourselves, and rather than realizing the gifts that we should be sharing, we tend to keep them close to ourselves.
And it's reassurance. We talk about this. It's reassurance that everything's going to be okay. I mean, there isn't anybody out there in the world doing anything different than us, or new anything. Like, everybody starts somewhere. Everybody has to call somebody. Every single person on the planet is interdependent on one another, because that's just how the world is. You can't go get groceries if there's no grocery store. You know what I mean? You can't have, we're just all interdependent on each other. So there's nothing separate happening. So what if today's the day? What if today's the day I connect with that right person, or that person connects with me, and we're able to really align and help each other? But because we don't know everybody in the world, and we don't know who needs what, the only way to find out is to make those calls, just to keep that simple, right? Just to connect and see. And, oftentimes you make that call, and this is kind of how we met, right? So it's that networking. I met somebody, you met somebody, and she's in our lives, but not in the capacity where we have joined, right? And that's a wonderful thing. And Julie's great. And we would totally, still see her. We've talked to her and absolutely use her services if needed. But her connection to us is why we connected at the level that we did. And we're all interdependent that way. We need one another in order to grow and expand, no matter what it is, personally or professionally.
Right. And I think that message needs to get out there a little bit more. We tend to be islands, or even as leaders, there's so many silos, or leaders that aren't communicating across departments, or how can our departments support each other rather than doing the work over again, because we haven't talked about what each of us is doing on a particular project. Or if the sales team isn't communicating really well with whoever's doing the fulfillment of that sale. I deal a lot with that as well, where the people that are actually going in to provide the service come back to me and say, the sales team promised so much, I don't know that I can deliver on what they promised. And so that interdependency within our organizations needs to be embraced, rather than used as a way to fracture.
Yeah. And perhaps the clarity on how, that's a good segue to clarity,
great
right?
segue. Look at that. all of those possibilities that you had in that session, or all of the possibilities that have been given to you from upper management. What about this? What about that? What about this other thing? Can you do a report on this? How do you come up with the clarity that is the right path for your team, or for you as an entrepreneur, or whatever your station and wherever you are in life? But there's, at some point, we have to make a choice, because if we don't make a choice, then we're paralyzed. So how do we get to that choice?
Well, there's two things there. So I'm glad, because this is something else that I love to say. You know, we'll get to clarity in a second, but choice is another powerful thing to remember. So we can always choose and re-choose. That's the wonderful thing about life. That's a wonderful thing about being human. It's the wonderful thing about possibility. If we choose something and it doesn't quite work out, then we can go ahead and choose something else. And, you know, we kind of identify some of these conscious thoughts as failure or fear or loss or whatever. But the reality is we can always re-choose. But the fact is we choose something. But going into clarity, I would say not rather, but you go into clarity to get that discernment, right? So how do we do that? How do we get really clear? And if you think about being clear, clear is just crystallizing, just down. So if we want to be clear, then we want to have crystallized thoughts. We want to crystallize our emotions. It's crystallizing an idea. So it's really, really, really just taking that time to crystallize how you feel, what you're thinking. And the way that I like to teach it in simplicity form is if you're calm, then you can get clear. And if you're clear, then you can create. Because nobody's ever really created something monumental out of fear and destruction or being in complete disarray, right? Maybe out of a little frustration. But when things are really blowing up in your life, you're not real creative, right? You don't really find answers to solutions. And we know energetically there's always a solution to every problem, every crisis, everything that shows up. So if we get calm, you'll get really clear. You'll crystallize what's happening, meaning the thought, the idea, the emotion, whatever's in that bubble. And then what happens, the calmer you get, that's when the answers come. That's the crystallization part. So then you get into being a creative, flow, or being in the creative flow. So that's how you can come together in that interdependence and in that what if, because people are getting clear. So, all the work that I do, every meeting I hold, we did it before this call, is you center, before you go into one thing from the next, you really want to center your energy. You want to call it all together. So, you can do that in thresholds before you leave your car, before you go into a threshold of a meeting. You just take this nice deep breath and you just let what was there, and this is where I'm at. And unless it serves this moment, put it in the backpack or let it go completely and go through that threshold. Like, this is now where I am. This is now what we're doing. And I find that when we lead meetings and our first thing is to center, to call in a collective mind, meaning we're bringing all of our conscious focus to the excellence of right now. And if somebody is to lead that ship right before a meeting, that crystallization process starts to happen right there in that moment, right? People start to calm down. They start to go, oh, wait, yeah, this is where we're at. So how we start our meetings, how we start our days, even how we come home from work or being gone all day, like how we enter the home. There's a re-entry thing. We have to be more cognizant of these behaviors to have more, I think, overall well-being, success, and harmony with others in that interdependence. Makes communication far more exciting and fun and more humane, right? Versus just, the not communicating and delivering tasks. But it just humanizes everything and keeps it very profound to what's going on right here, if that made sense.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm going to unpack a little bit of that for a second, everybody. What you all need to do is you need to write down calm, clear, create, and you need to put that on the wall behind your computer or put it on a Post-it note that sticks to the side to remind yourself. Sometimes I wish the wall wasn't behind me because there was so much stuff I would put. So many phrases and things to remind me. I need to make a big board that sits on the other side of my computer screen, because that is so huge. And I think what a lot of people do is maybe they hide in their offices, and if they have a personal meditation practice, or if they have something that, or a cycle of something that they like to go through before meetings to get them charged, whether it's a visualization or thinking through, taking the agenda and really thinking through their points. Like they do that preparation solo, and then they come into the meeting kind of all guns blaring. And then everybody has their own little agenda, and nobody centers the collective once they get into the meeting. So that is huge, to take that moment. And I challenge all the leaders that are out there and that, watch the replay, and whoever is on Facebook. I see that there are people watching the other things that gives me little clues as to who's on where. So I challenge you to take the risk to do the centering. Kristin, would you model that for a second for everybody? Just what that might look like. I think people go, "Oh, that would be too woo-woo or too weird," but it's really not. You want to just take a second and just model that for everyone?
Yeah, I mean, if you're coming into a Zoom call, we'll just use that because that's like life right now. So, I'll just model what Alison and I did, because Alison is in a couple of my programs and we do some programs together, but this is something that she knows is very important to me. So before the call, I just said, okay, let's center, before we went live, I should say. And we literally just closed our eyes, took a nice deep breath, and I just uttered the words to bring ourselves into the space together. So let's have this call, or if you want to say meeting, be an alignment for all of us. Let our focus join, let our harmony join. We're just harmonizing the energy so that we have success. Let everybody be heard. Let the thoughts that need to come, that expand this moment for us all, be what lands in the conversation. It can be, you're just asking for greatness, basically, in that moment. Now, because I'm a metaphysics, I call in the consciousness of the greater energies, because I know that's where the amazement is. But you can still do it and eliminate that phrase, but you're still calling in that energy anyway, because that's what centering is, and paying attention to where you are. You're calling in the focus. So just imagine if you have 20 people in the room that you center right before a meeting or a call every time, and they're letting go of the kids they didn't pick up, the lunch they didn't pack, the job they didn't get done, the laundry they didn't do, the traveling partner, whatever that is. Once you center a group to just bring all focus here to the now, and to be as open and willing to participate in the greatness that can occur, all of that other stuff gets left at the door until it's needed to be picked up again, if at all. And it just makes meetings and teaching and lectures and all that stuff way more powerful. Sometimes we'll do a meditation, but you don't have to do all that. You know what? Our centering and meditations take like 10 minutes between, in our meetings and stuff. So, and then I do an exit one. I always like to enter the room and leave the room the same way. So we do that too, but that might be a little bit for people, but it's still a good tip.
Right. Well, and think about how much more efficient your meetings are going to be when you just get everybody focused right from the get-go.
So the key thing is you're harmonizing everybody's focus. You're harmonizing everybody's energy. You're allowing everybody. And, and the other thing too is, Alison, I'm not going to say everybody, but most people crave that. They don't even know it, but they crave that. They crave that moment to not walk in and be on, like right away, or they crave that moment to just give me 10 seconds to just sit and be here without being on. And that centering does that, fidget a little, whatever, let everybody settle in. Then somebody centers the meeting, the program, the call, the class, whatever it is, in whatever way feels comfortable. And then everybody's ready to go. And I know that when I do it, and you've been in some of those groups, everybody loves it, because they didn't just hop on and get going. We fidgeted a little, everybody settled in, and then we brought some attention to the class or to the call or to the meeting and the objective at hand. And repeatedly the feedback is, I love that. And they've asked for deeper meditations in some of them. And some of them are professional environments. So there you go.
Talk a little bit about that, kind of the mentorship idea.
Okay. Well, my personal belief is that you're not a born leader or a follower. You have a comfort to one or the other, I think. But leadership, true leadership, is a developmental skill. It's a personal development, a soulful development, a conscious development, as well as a professional development. Like that is the mission. That's the quest of being a leader, is learning and obtaining all this self-actualization, sorry, so that you can truly mentor the greatness out of somebody else. So to be a great leader, I think that, for my definition, is to mentor the greatness out of somebody else. So if you can get somebody to that self-actualization, to where they are, a product of the leadership that they've been under, or maybe mentored by others, where they're in their heart, they're in their consciousness, they're in their humanity, while they're in their great communication, right? And they're learning and bettering themselves on a regular basis, not just in the professional intelligent world or their field, but as a human being. Those leaders are the ones that I think thrive. And I'll say it this way, I'm not going to say whether it's financial, that they go to the top in their platform, they thrive in their community. They are the ones that are the most respected. They're the ones that people want to learn or reach out and have them be their mentor. That is a great leader. And when you can master that, that is, I think, how we change. I'm not in corporate America. I guess I used to be, to a certain degree, in retail. And you hear all the time, like, people want to leave. Well, why do people want to leave? What if these programs were built into the workplace, like self-actualization? And while you're in a training program, you also deepen your personal relationship with yourself. You learn true leadership skills, communication skills. You and I have the art of communication, where we go over what body language and words mean, like actions speak louder than words, and our words affirm. So there's all these things that, may be considered new age, but they're not. They're profound fundamentals of actually leading teams. And again, like, if we just take it into the center of yourself, you're leading yourself first anyway. So you need that to be in its excellence, mentally, professionally, personally, emotionally, spiritually, all the time, and always evolving. Because if you're that way, just think, if everybody else is that way, that interdependent relationships harmonize, it can expand, we bring it full circle to everything. So if you can have a leader that wants that for their company, that is greatness to me. They have to be it first. And then I think the ripple effect is pretty profound. If that answered your question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's great that you mentioned the art of communication, which we do together, since I always bring in some kind of body language piece to these LinkedIn Lives. And last week I talked about really staying open, even when you want to shut down, because somebody has said something to you, or is minimizing you, or something, because you're coming in with possibilities, and they want to be like, oh, we tried that before. Yeah, that didn't work. Oh, basically, no, like all the suggestions you're bringing in, and then all you're receiving is no. When we come back to focusing, that it actually is that opposite. But instead of shrinking, it's that focusing even of the body. There's something in movement pattern analysis that we're trained in, which is called actually directing and indirecting, of all things. But it's a continuum of movement where you can either be as open as physically possible. Basically, your body, all of your skin and everything is kind of reacting to the moment. It's like when you feel really, 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 really alive, and everything is taking it in. Usually the example I give is, when you walk into a giant cathedral, or you walk out on the top of a mountain, and you're just so alive. It's literally that "Hills Are Alive" song from Sound Music. And your whole body is alive. And then the opposite is everything comes down, and it's like suddenly you're so like laser focused, because every point of your being is focused into that moment, into that decision. So that crystallization that you're talking about when it comes to clarity can happen. And sometimes you can use that body to affect that mind. If you feel like you're just, man, I just can't focus today. I don't have any clarity. I don't know that, calm, clear, create, it ain't happening today, which sometimes we get to the point where we feel like I don't know. Yeah. I've had 15 people tell me what to do and none of them feels right to me. And so, let all those other people out of your brain for a minute and really focus your body as well. So whether, there are things that you could do, like literally you could focus with your hands like I'm doing now. You can literally, focus yourself down a little bit. It doesn't mean that you're like shrinking into a little ball, because that's kind of cutting off that energy, but keeping the line long, but just letting it focus and bringing it in and saying, okay, what is it for me?
And, I love how our conversations always bring everything full circle. So, and that's what I just think is the magic of when the consciousness is aligned first, is that you really stay on point to what needs to be said and why. So we're giving everybody an example of how we centered. And if you're following it, it's all, piggybacking on one another, because that's life. It all piggybacks, right? Everything is part of something else. And so if your body language, so going back to and this does go into clarity, because, first impressions, like what is your first impression of people, or what first impression do you want to make, right? So body is usually the energy that does that. And I always say, Maya Angelou says, you're responsible for the energy that you bring into the room. And the only thing that we would add would be, you're also responsible for the legacy you leave behind in the room, right? So we have to pay attention to what we do and what we say, because actions speak louder than words, and words firm, either positive or negative. Meaning, so if somebody is acting like they love you, but they never say they love you, then you're going to start thinking, that's just in the short, right? So if your boss is always giving you a thumbs up, but isn't saying, hey, I really appreciate everything that you've done for me, and there's no verbal affirmation to go with, hey, a thumbs up or a pat on the back, like we need both as people, because that's how we strive. That's how we thrive. Now there's a whole nother, topic of how self-actualization has to happen in there, which for me is, I do think that personal development is the key to success, period. I think becoming your best self, learning things you don't know, identifying the things that are inside of you that aren't working, and really evolving as a human being is truly the key to success. And it's the key to success with other people. And that goes right into, you walk taller, you learn more, you share yourself more. You know when to put the pause, when you need a break, right? When you're done socializing, but you do it in a way with grace and integrity, and you have quicker responses to yourself, so that you can be, so that you really care how you impact others. And body language is huge. And that's the first thing we pick up. So also having the articulation for yourself that goes with your body language, or explains to other people, that goes into the art of communication that you and I do. So, yeah.
Oh, that's so great. So the one thing that I'd written down when we chatted beforehand in our prep was, clarity is the topic and centering is the tool. So I wanted to bring that up as a reminder to everyone that, we've talked about clarity, we've talked about centering, and really the two go hand in hand, because what's really fantastic about the work that you do is you do bring it down into a tool. There's a vast toolkit when you're working with you, that you can kind of think of, what is the situation that I'm in right now, what skill, what tool do I have to manage this. Is there anything you want to talk about as far as working with you or how to find you? We've had it up there. KristinLamarInspires.com is up there. That's certainly the best way to probably contact
Yeah,
you.
and I try to keep it open because I don't know what's right for everybody. So I'm trying not to push all sorts of agendas and programs. I'm available to people personally. I do have programs and classes and courses. And they rotate like when they start and stop. I think the thing that's constant is the Sunday Soul Time, and that's just an open membership. Anybody can hop on and hop off. It's a monthly program. But mostly I think that if this speaks to anybody, if you go to the website, there's how to contact me, and I answer emails. I read all the emails. I don't have a big staff that does that. So I answer questions directly, and I'm always happy to help.
Yes. And you can have the power duo of both of us together, which is always exciting to bring that communication, the body language, and the verbal, really together in an impactful way, which is always surprising, I think, to people, the magnitude, I guess, how fast you can progress. Is when you put the two together is always really quite a joy.